welcome to another episode of Heart of the Dragon. You might have noticed that we have not been consistently doing videos for a while since the holidays. Our last video we did was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had explained at that time what was going on. Unfortunately, my 14-year-old son, who I often refer to as middleman, came down with a viral infection, which caused him to have a relapse in his condition, and he's been sick for several weeks now, and I've been in full-time caregiver mode again, so that's been a lot of my focus lately. It seems to me in our culture there are two common polarized thought processes. One of them is what I would call prosperity thinking. If you just say it will happen and think it will happen, your wildest dreams will come true. Pray to God and claim God's blessings and favor on you. You can have that expensive car. You can have that healthy body. You can have those riches. All you have to do is believe, and it will be all yours. The world is at your fingertips. God wants to bless you, and he wants to prosper for you. On the other extreme, that seems to be a lot of anger and division, blaming, name-calling. And when our circumstances don't turn out the way we think they should, and when we can't name it or claim it, then we point the finger of whose fault it is. I believe with all the social media and all the digital communication out there, that's where a lot of this polarization and thought process comes off. But honestly, I think probably most of us are somewhere in the middle between there. We're just trying to figure things out and just trying to figure life out. And yet, as we all know, life is just hard. My message and the message of Joyful Mama is countercultural, because my perspective on life is that we just take every day as it comes and just take whatever circumstances we have and just go with it in that moment, I guess. So I don't think that that's probably a popular worldview, but I think that it's just truth, and sometimes truth is all we have. Now, you know, I like to stay positive, and I'm always looking at ways to be uplifting and try to find the good things in life despite whatever is going on. And that's where the pursuit of joy comes. All right, I got 2 dogs today, and they're being a little feisty. All right, there you go. My beautiful camera crew. Today I want to talk a little bit about life's disappointments. As you know, I buried my mom on New Year's Eve, and then on New Year's Day, we headed back from a very painful but blessed trip. And coming back to just dealing with a lot of grief and sadness and disappointments going on. Some things I talked about in previous videos, others it's too personal to talk about. But our family has been hit with some disappointments and some setbacks and just some hard things. I think that life does go through victories and battles, and we just got to take the goods with the bads, I suppose. But it just seems like 2020 just didn't get off on the right start for our family. When you've been exposed to Lyme disease and other similar infections, what happens is it tears down your immune system, so that when you get sick, you can get really sick because your body just can't fight it. And the other thing that happens is that something like a viral infection can trigger some of your oldest symptoms. Or like in the case of my middleman, we had to stop some of the treatments that we were doing in order to treat the new symptoms. And so sometimes you go through stages in your condition where you move forward and you're doing good, and then you have a setback and it brings back some of your old symptoms. In that case, when you're going through something like that, you also find yourself in an emotional place of remembering what it was like when you're really sick. And it's a little traumatizing for people. I know I went through that for years when I was trying to overcome a lot of my health struggles. And I know what it's like to go back to that place and remember how sick you were, because Lyme disease is just such a difficult disease to endure because of the neurological and the pain and metabolic symptoms. It's like your whole body and your brain, and your organs. It feels like they're all under attack when you're going through it, and you're digging yourself out of a hole to get better. So when you're having a setback, it's kind of like you're getting at the top of the hole, and then all of a sudden, crash, you're falling back down, and you got to start all over again. That's what it feels like, even though usually the process of getting better doesn't take as long as you move forward. That's what it feels like. And so it's just really hard. So those are some of the things that we have to deal with. For me, when I start worrying about Annika and her brothers and her family, I tend to forget to take care of myself. And that started happening after we got back from our trip to Kansas. So I kind of got off my diet, and I was sort of on it, but I was eating foods that I can have, but only in small amounts. And I was starting to overeat them because I was just trying to keep myself going and just not making sure that I got the rest I needed. And so about a week and a half ago, I noticed that my feet were all swelling up. That's usually my first sign that I know I'm not taking care of myself, as my feet tend to swell, and it starts to get painful to try to walk at all. And so I've had to spend the last 2 weekends pretty much in bed, resting, just to make sure that I have enough strength to take care of my family and to keep going. So I have to remember that I have to get rest. I have to eat right. There's certain foods that I just can only have in small amounts and those kinds of things. So that as much as I want to put my focus on my family and on Middleman and on Annika when she's struggling too, I have to remember that if I don't take care of myself, then I'm laid flat and then I can't do anything. So those are just some of the battles that we face as a family. I think the hardest part of going into 2020 is that my mom's not here anymore. And she was kind of my big support system. So like what we're going through now, I would have been calling her, and she would have been texting me and saying, hey, how's my boy doing? How's Annika doing? And she would have been, right there cheering us on. And so that's been pretty tough. I have days where it just kind of hits me in the gut. That's like, I want to call my mom and talk to her, and I can't. And I think that's what makes it the hardest of all this year. But I just remembering that God's with me, and He's with our family. We got an amazing support system, and I have an amazing husband. My husband Mel is always strong and always fighting for our family. And so he's a hard worker. He works hard for our family, and he fights hard for our family. And I love him dearly. And so this is just a new season that I have to get used to, not having my mom to call when things get down. But it's a nice reminder that God is always in it. And one of the concepts that God has really been hitting me hard with this year is thy will be done. I have to submit to God's will, even when things don't turn out the way I wanted. And I don't want to sit there and blame other people. I don't want to sit there and feel discouraged because I didn't name it and I didn't overcome it in this moment. But I know that God is in the moment. And when God's will is done, you just have to accept it in that moment and look to God, and He will guide you to the next. So we don't be defeated. We don't be discouraged. We don't be disappointed. We know that it's all part of God's plan. And yeah, God answers prayers in ways I don't like sometimes. I will admit that. And God's timing doesn't always fit what I think is the right timing. And I don't understand why I have to watch my son have to get help because he's hurting. And I don't understand why I have to see people I love be disappointed. I don't understand why I have to say goodbye to my mom. and watch her die. But I do know that God is in it, and God is in every heartache, disappointment, and He's also in the good moments, like when we laugh together, when we have a family game night, or when I talk to my dad on the phone and I hear him happy that day, or when my dogs Gracie and Oscar play outside in the snow. All those little things, you just gotta cherish those special moments and know that we have to be real in life. We have to face thy will be done. We have to face our disappointments and heartaches and just trust God in each moment, because He's always enough and He'll always carry us through. And we don't want to give up our hope. We don't want to give up on the healing and on the blessings that God gives us. But we also got to be realistic that the true blessing isn't in this lifetime, it's in the next. And we have to be okay with the goods and the bads, because if we think that life is a bowl of cherries, no, it's not. Or if we sit there and point our fingers and who to blame when things don't turn out the way we wanted, and blame the healthcare system when we think that they failed us, or blame the government because they're not supporting us in the way we think they should. We got to be fighters. We got to be advocates. We got to speak the truth. We got to call it the truth for what it is. But let's live for hope and not blame. 2020 might start for a year of disappointments, but it's not over yet. And we always have hope, and hope is what we can fall on. So that's my message for today, among all the difficult stuff, is just to embrace the moment you get, look for the good things in the moment, cry, hurt, laugh, smile, but let's be real and let's love. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. If you liked what you saw today, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and then please be sure to hit the subscribe button below, and then be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can receive notifications on all of our future videos. We are on social media, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under the username Joyful Mama. Otherwise, we will also link that in the description below. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Bye, guys.